Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ted, and today I'm joined with
Nerdarchy Dave.
And today we're talking about the three most underrated monsters in D&D. Jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
I got to thinking about the monster manual and different monsters in the game, and I was just like, what monsters are in this book right here, or the other Watts books that are really good, but they just don't seem to see the light of day. And I don't mean just because they're Underdark monsters either.
They just don't have the traction. There's something about them that people don't find appealing. I mean, we've got a pretty thick book here, and if you look back throughout the editions, there are a ton of monsters that have existed in this game, and that means that selection offers up to people more things than they might know what to do with.
For my first pick for underrated monsters, I went with one that we actually did a video on it, and the video really came about because of the fact that I'm playing a new game with different players, and I had asked the question, what is something you would like to see in this see happen throughout this campaign at some point? And for whatever reasons, one of my players answered troglodytes. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can make that happen. It's an odd request. But then, it kind of got me thinking, and we actually did a monster video on troglodytes after that. And when we did that video, one of the things we really realized was that troglodytes are a really tough monster for low level, considering that they're only a quarter CR.
Right.
They get 3 attacks, they have stench, they have camouflage. So it's kind of crazy. And the other thing is, troglodyte is actually kind of a mainstream word. It's it's used derogatory as an insult,
right?
But it's less obscure than quite a few of the other D&D monster references or game references in general,
right?
So when you look at these guys, okay, they're kind of like chumps to get hit, and they have a glass jaw. But, at the same time, they do have chameleon skin, which lets them have advantage on their stealth checks. If you get near them, you're making saving throws, so you don't have to deal with a poison condition. Sunlight sensitivity, obviously, if you're using this monster, it's probably not going to come up.
You're not going to throw them up in the middle of a field on a bright spring day?
I don't think so. Besides, the wilting flowers will give them away. But, the biggest thing to me is 3 attacks around per monster. Do they do a lot of damage? No, but it means, on average, they're going to hit someone with a good armor class probably at least once.
Was it plus 4 to hit? I mean, you're using these guys at, first through third level. After that, their bonus to hit isn't going to really be all that useful. But 3 die 4 plus 6, if they hit with all their attacks, that's enough to bring down most first level adventurers.
Right, and Constitution saving throw. So I'm going to say, even if you're not proficient half the time, you're probably going to fail that save.
Yep.
So underrated, I think so. Troglodytes, you should be using them against lower level parties and more often. And if you want to see how I'm using them, you can check out the Scarlet Sisterhood game that's going on.
So I'm going to go off on a completely different vein for my pick, and I'm going with satyr. Satyrs have a lot of cool thematic stuff that you can use them for, and I just don't feel that they're getting a lot of play, whether it be in modules or in games. Fake creatures are all over the place, and satyrs get along with all of them. So why not throw one in there and spice up what's going on? They're a challenge half, so they're easy to add to low to mid-level games. And they've got 3 different languages. They've got decent skill sets.
This is a classic monster for you want to run the damsel in distress. Where the satyr comes in and kidnaps a young lady and takes him back to his forest home, and then then the players have to go rescue the damsel in distress, and this guy is perfect for that.
If you use the variant of pipes, he gets access to spell-like abilities which makes him more interesting and more challenging. You could be able to use him in a variety of different ways. And then as the DM, you've got the ability to spice those things up, more. And, okay, well, what happens if he's got a different set of magic pipes? What happens if, he's a more advanced version, and you could couple what he is here with a different NPC class? It's just a really cool monster that you can use on either spectrum of the alignments. They could be an NPC that is nothing but friendly, or they could totally be your villain. He's gone completely psycho, and he feels that the maidens of this particular town are all his, and he needs to make a
Well, technically, with his pipes, he could literally march out most of the females in a village.
It is true.
They would leave with him willingly. In the meantime, he could put to sleep the men folk of the village, and that could be the whole adventure itself.
Right.
This could be it could literally be the mothers, daughters, or sisters of the player characters. That get taken.
Yeah.
And so it's it's a strong for a half. It's pretty strong too. A DC 13.
Yep.
Wisdom saving throw.
Save.
I would say most commoners are going to fail that save.
Yeah, it's a better than 60% chance that they're going to fail.
I mean, even if they have a +1, which would be above average, they'd still need a 12 or better.
Yeah.
So he can make off with quite a few of the lasses of the village with no problems, and and perhaps then your players would have to negotiate with them to get them back, or come to some kind of agreement. It would not necessarily have to be violence or bloodshed, but I feel like this monster offers up some really interesting things that could be done as opposed to just combat. So there's a lot of different uses for a satyr, but I can't say I've ever seen one appear in any of my games. So for our last pick, we're
going to actually go underground. And typically when people go underground, they think bad guys are just a drow, and they kind of leave it at that. And I don't know how you guys deal with your games and whatever have you, but we kind of got sick of drow being the bad guys, so we actually made some changes in our particular world. The drow are still there, but they're just not as massive and prominent and whatever have you. But so we kind of looked at the monster manual and Out of the Abyss, and we're kind of combining Darrow and Duergar together because they're getting overshadowed by the drow.
Yeah, the Underdark races, and I've always enjoyed the Duergar far more than I have the drow. To be honest with you, I like the idea of a psionic race, especially and they're dwarves. Come on, it's me.
Well, the thing that I like about the Duergar is it makes it a little bit interesting and challenging on the DM to use them properly. Because if you take them right out of the book, they're emotionless. Like, they still want to do all of the things, but they don't derive the joy and happiness that the rest of the dwarves do it.
They're anti-dwarves.
But at the same time, everything else that's the typical dwarf, they still want to do it. So imagine having a desire to do something without actually having the satisfaction in enjoying it. And that's what they live with all the time. And then you've got your darrow, which are dwarf-esque beings. Using the 5th edition fifth edition makeup, they're actually they're believed that they were created by their god, but they were cruel experiments on dwarves by mind flayers. So like they don't have pupils, they don't have irises, their hair is either a stark white or a yellow, and they're clinically insane.
It was far more prominent in previous editions of Dungeons & Dragons where they were the magic dwarves. Now, with each edition, the restrictions on who can do what have become more and more laxed. But before that, in AD&D, dwarves really didn't use magic. You couldn't be a wizard. And, the Darrow kind of took that spot. They were crazy magic dwarves, and they were insane. A lot of 5th edition, they've taken liberties with the backstories and histories of various monsters. believe and done a better job with it. They've made really good narrative decisions with that.
I agree.
But the Duergar and darrow would make excellent adversaries from the Underdark, but unfortunately, I feel like the Dritz Duerden crowd is so vast that they get overshadowed by all the drow love and the emo gamers out there. Just saying, just give Duergar and darrow a chance in your game.
So the darrow, I mean, there's a lot of rich history in a very small amount of space in this book for the darrow, and like it says that they don't have any place that they call their own. So they typically find sections of Underdark towns and settlements, and just in this one little cluster, the darrow will be there. They breed quickly, and anytime their numbers get so big, they decide to war, and they'll go find someone to fight, and they'll get rid of enough that they're like, okay, we've been cleansed, and they'll go back and do their thing. So
they're the vermin of the Underdark.
And that's exactly what the book says. They're vermin, and a lot of places just kind of tolerate them because they war with themselves. They war with everyone else. They don't have the ability to join and band together for nothing but themselves. So they're awesome. I think that there's so much stuff that you can wind up doing with them, and people don't.
There were some good Dragonlance stories involving the darrow as the antagonist with I don't know if Flint was in those books or not. I don't remember. It's a long time ago, but I just remember they just made really good villains, and that's made them stick for me. So guys, darrow Duergar, troglodytes, satyrs. Are you guys using them in your game? How often are you using them? Are we way off base and we don't know what we're talking about? We got a place for that. It's called the comments. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.